Every time I log into YouTube, I'm faced with constant demands that I upload some kind of introductory video to tell people who've never visited the channel what it's all about. And since who am I to deny the algorithmic overlords, I decided I would just do that and answer a bunch of other questions that have been asked at the same time. My name is Stephen and I live in Glasgow in Scotland. I live here with my American wife, Grace, and my French bulldog, Bimo, who I believe is actually from Poland originally. We got him as a rescue, so I'm not entirely sure. But basically we have this international house, and I like to shamelessly exploit Bimo so I can capture that niche market of like dog and synth people rather than cat and synth people. Although, no offense to the people who've got cats, there's just lots of people doing that already. To answer the biggest question on everyone's lips, no, these glasses are not fake. They are real. This is not just some branding exercise. I began to wear white glasses when I first saw a guy called Paul Mullen from a band called Your Codename Is Milo many years ago. And even though I think they were stage glasses and they were wee white things, I liked them. And so I've been wearing white glasses ever since, and that's what it is. I did see people suggesting that this was a cynical move to brand myself, but it's not. This is really how I look. This channel is called All My Friends Are Synths, and that name came from another website that I run, or like a photo blog that I've had for years and years, over 15 years, and it is called All My Friends Are JPEGs. The name was suggested by a friend of mine when I couldn't think up a decent name for what I was trying to do, and I've since just cannibalized it and used it for different things that I do. The channel used to be called Noise Pedals because originally I started out making videos about effects pedals specifically, but I've left that in the past. But if you look at some of the older videos, that's why some of them say Noise Pedals on it. I have been making music for many years. I originally wanted to play drums, but as it turns out, that's a bit more difficult to do when you live in a wee house with your parents, and so I found an acoustic guitar in a cupboard that was my dad's, I think, and I asked him about it and started playing that, and that set me down the path of guitar being my primary instrument, even though that doesn't say a whole lot if you know me and know my relative skill level on guitar. But I say that because I play in a couple of different bands, played in bands since I was in high school. Currently I play in a band called Closet Organ, the world famous Closet Organ, who we started playing together in high school, and I play guitar and I sing, and we are very successful. The other band I play with is a band called Hog Wild, and this was something that started just a few years ago where me and my friend Lee had a week to ourselves. He was staying with me when he was between the houses, and we decided we'd just make some kind of music, whatever we came up with, and we basically wrote a 5-track EP. I think it was 5 tracks anyway, maybe 6. We just did it in my kitchen in the living room in between playing the PlayStation, and that kind of grew arms and legs, and then our friend Al came in to play drums, and now we are an actual band. We were meant to go on tour last year, go to Japan, but unfortunately the pandemic struck. But we've just finished recording our debut album, which is coming out on vinyl this year in the summer sometime, so if you're interested in any of that, I'll put links down there somewhere. In Hog Wild I play bass only because we couldn't find a bassist that we wanted to play with, so I learned bass, and then I sing as well and also do some electronic bits and bobs. It's much more poppier than Closet Organ, who are much more grunge rocky. I got into playing electronic music specifically about 10 years ago, maybe just over 10 years ago, and we had a break with the band at that point, I think because we were sick of the sight of each other, and so I wanted to do some music on my own. I'd had like a period of a year or two where I didn't touch guitar at all, and then I was on tour with this other band taking photos, and I got inspired to do something, so the only thing I knew how to do was play guitar, so I was trying to write these songs, but I really despise kind of singer-songwriter type things because it very quickly and easily can become this kind of crooning, you know, Ed Sheeran type ballady shite which I didn't want to do. And I was too self-conscious, like I'm from the west of Scotland, I'm not going to be doing some kind of, you know, love song acoustic crap. So to go over that, I decided to start like packing out the songs with lots of different sounds, and I bought all of these weird and wonderful instruments, which I guess aren't all that weird. You know, I had a mandolin, a banjo, a glockenspiel, and a musical saw of all things. But I was trying to pad out the sound so I could get away from just the acoustic guitar kind of thing. And that naturally led on to finding electronic instruments, because when you're looking for sounds, there's like lots of cool, unusual instruments, but really the electronic world has the most range of weird things. And this started out with Game Boys. I was always a bit of a geek anyway. I like computers and I like that whole world of technology, or at least I used to. And so I was curious about using the Game Boy for making music, because it seemed that people were doing that. And I got into using the Game Boy in that way, and that kind of became a springboard into the whole other mess of electronic music that I've now ended up in. With the Game Boy, that was actually the first electronic stuff that I played live, and actually the only electronic music I've played live. We've done a bunch of gigs with just chiptune, and they've been some of the most bizarre experiences I've had in music. Played a wee bar in Osaka, played this bizarre warehouse thing in London, and frightened a lot of people in Glasgow. But yeah, it's been good fun. The Game Boys acted though as kind of a gateway drug, because as I explored the possibilities that the Game Boy offered, I then realised there was all these other weird and wonderful boxes, and ones that come to mind are like the Sismo Quadrox box, which I wish I'd kept, but you can't really get them easily anymore. But I realised that if I was going to be able to make them work together, I wanted to kind of sync them. And then I started finding out about CV and about clock sync and all that kind of thing, and that led to this monstrosity behind me, because I fell down the Eurorack rabbit hole, and since then it's kind of spiraled out of control from there. With that said, even though I'm busy, I kind of need to keep busy or I'll lose my mind, because as soon as I stop for a minute, then I start to like, things begin to tick over in my mind. So I have to always be doing something. So when it comes to music, even when I'm not, making my own music in here or playing with the bands or doing any of that kind of stuff, I DJ occasionally. Well, when you could DJ, when clubs and stuff weren't completely closed indefinitely for the pandemic. I also like to drive some friends' bands around on tour, and for a long time I was a photographer. I worked at festivals, nightclubs, gigs. I did portrait stuff. I would go on tour, and I used to do stuff for Art Rocker a long time ago, and that's kind of what takes up a lot of my time. On top of that, I do run a wee independent record label thing on the side, which is called Cow Tongue Taco Records, and that's basically, it started out as kind of a tape cassette label where I would do really short runs of tapes, so that bands or wee artists that I liked had a kind of different way to promote themselves. And I still do that occasionally. I put out a lot of my own music under that, but I also put out music from people I like. But I don't do that as often anymore, because it was taking up quite a lot of administrative time to not actually sell that many albums. When it comes to this channel, what you'll find is that I do a whole host of different videos. I don't just talk about gear. I do talk about things I bought and why I bought them and why I think they might be interesting. I do talk about things that I've had for a long time and how I make music with them. And I do talk about things that I've bought and then have decided or am considering selling because they haven't quite met expectations. But really, that's not all this channel is for, at least from my perspective. I like to share the music that I actually make. And I also like to share the process of making music. So whether that's like a live jam improvisation thing, or whether that's like going through experimenting and trying out a different workflow and showing things that do and don't work and which maybe have gone wrong, or certainly have gone wrong in my case. And that's an important point actually, because I don't know everything and I don't want to present it like I know everything, like some other channels may do. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of sick of watching YouTube channels where people present it like a TV show and present things in their nice expensive studios maybe gear that they've been paid to promote, and they act as if they've been using it all their life and talk about how it's the greatest thing they've ever used. And that has its place, and I'm not really knocking anybody for making a living doing that, but that isn't something I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in doing this as a full-time job. If I can make enough cash off of making music and associated activities to keep doing that and support itself, then great. But I'm much more interested in meeting people who do similar things, talking about what I like doing, and just sharing music stuff. And that's it, really. I've now satisfied YouTube's demands to create an introductory video, and so if you've sat through this, then God bless you. But if you want me to do any videos on particular things and you want to hear some fucking idiotic Scotsman rant on about something in particular, feel free to suggest it. Maybe you've seen something in the background of one of the videos that you're curious about, or I don't know, whatever. Maybe you make music yourself and you want to share it. Feel free, I don't care. And contrary to popular belief, I do actually listen to music. I like to listen to lots of new music. So if you want to share your stuff or ask questions or whatever, do it. I'm not going to beg people to subscribe or whatever. So aye. I'm Stephen, that's the channel. Yeah, fucking aye.